Hey, and welcome back to Cooking with Ro. It's been one of those weeks. You know, the kind where nothing just seems to pan out right for you. We lost the power several times this week due to rogue winds and even had a fire set on our property. But alas, we're here. We're here today. And we sure are going to eat some delicious comfort food. Now that we're on the onset of the holiday season, I wanted to present you guys an easy recipe for making homemade pumpkin pie. There are several variations of this that can lengthen or shorten the amount of time you need to cook this for. Our main ingredient will be a medium to small size sweet pumpkin, or you can also use 1 can of pumpkin puree. 14 ounces of condensed milk. Graham cracker pie crust. Now you could make this at home or buy it at the store to save some time. 2 eggs at room temperature. Half a teaspoon of salt. 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. Half a teaspoon of ground ginger. And lastly, half a teaspoon of ground nutmeg. Let's begin. So if you're going to start by making a pumpkin pie using fresh pumpkin, first we're going to have our pumpkin. As far as noticing a difference between pumpkin puree in a can and the pumpkin puree you can make from a fresh pumpkin, I'd have to say you save time using a can, but you don't get quite the same herbal flavor you get from a fresh pumpkin. Next, you scoop out the insides. Pumpkins were first cultivated in Central America around 5,500 BC and were one of the earliest foods the first European explorers brought back from the New World. From then on, pumpkins quickly became part of England's highly developed pie-making culture, which had for centuries been producing complex stuffed pastries in sweet and savory varieties. Now that our pumpkins are hollowed out and halved, pierce them with a fork. And lastly, we're going to coat them very lightly with a cooking oil. Here, I use coconut oil. Now, in our parchment-lined pan, we're going to place our pumpkins cut side down. Heat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit or 180 degrees Celsius. And place your pumpkins inside of the oven after it's preheated. We're going to remove our pumpkin when we can pierce the flesh easily with a fork. For me, that was roughly 55 minutes of cook time. Now set the oven to 425 degrees Fahrenheit. That's going to be 220 degrees Celsius. After our pumpkin has cooled down enough to handle, we're going to scoop out the flesh. Place it into a food processor and blend it until smooth so you have a nice pumpkin puree. If you need to, you could add in a splash of milk, but keep in mind that may affect the consistency as well as the cook time. Once we've pureed our pumpkin, it's time to add in the rest of the ingredients, starting with our condensed milk. Then we're going to beat in our 2 eggs. After that, it's time for our spices. we're going to add 1 tablespoon of cinnamon. However, feel free to add more. These ratios are only a rough estimate, so spice it up to your taste. Next is the ½ teaspoon of ground ginger. Then 1/2 teaspoon of ground nutmeg. Half a teaspoon of salt. Now, some people like to add in ground cardamon or cracked black pepper to give your pumpkin pie an extra kick. I decided to add some ground cardamon since I had some lying around. Now that we've spiced it to our liking, it's time to pour it into the pie crust. We're going to carefully set it to bake in our oven at 425 degrees for 15 minutes. After that, you're going to reduce the heat to 350 degrees Fahrenheit and let it cook for another 30 to 40 minutes until the pumpkin pie has formed a nice golden brown crust. And there you have it, a pumpkin pie homemade using fresh pumpkins. If you've enjoyed this video, please give it a like and hit subscribe if you want to see more cooking videos. If you'd like to see some behind the scenes, as well as some of my other work, follow me on social media at Alquatica. I'm on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. Take a slice and join me next time on Cooking with Ro. See you next week. Ciao.